Now it's time to make the mounting system for our wood. Now, I would highly recommend taking the time and remeasuring the interior of your table. So ours is 40 by 30 and the wood is going to run the length of the 40-inch. That means the width of it is going to be our mounting system. Now, we have 30 spot on from side to side, and then the interior is going to be 27 because we use 1.5-inch square tubing. So that means we want all of our screws to be on the interior of that 27 inches. So we're going to be using 1/8 inch by 1.5 inch cold rolled flat bar, and I'm not going to bore you with the details on cutting this material. You can use a chop saw or an angle grinder to cut your material, but you do want to remeasure the interior width. You may be off just by a little bit. Now we have a piece that is 27 inches exact. That is the interior measurement of where we want to put our mounting system for our wood. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to lay out all the lines to where we want to make our holes. So the first thing we want to do is we want to measure out this whole thing, and then we want to scribe lines where everything, we want to scribe lines where we want to put our holes. Now, the first thing we want to do, this is 27 inches. That halfway mark is the center of where our middle board is going to be. So we're going to put 2 holes and 2 screws in each one of our boards on both sides. So what we want to do, if we move out 2 inches from that line, 2 inches from that line, and we have 4 inches in between our screw holes, that's going to hold the board into place very securely. Now, what about the other ones? Now we have a 1.5 inch square tube on either end of this, and we're gonna have a little lip, but we wanna suck that wood into the table. So from the ends, you can go in 1 inch, 1.5. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go 1.5 inches from either end. So I have this friendly little guy right here. It's a little bit more accurate. 1.5 inches from either end. I'm gonna mark that right there. I'm gonna mark the other end as well. 1.5 inches, And then I'm gonna scribe my lines once again. Okay, now we had 4 inches. We're gonna do the 2 inches, 2 inches from there. So I'm gonna mark those. I just put it right on 2 and then mark 4 and 1, right? Now scribe those. There it is. Now, 4 inches from either of these lines interior, and we'll have 2 screws and 2 holes per side per board. So right there, let's put that right at 4. Right at 4. And then scribe the line. Right there. And right there. All right, so now we have all of the scribe lines to where we want to put the holes. This is 1.5 inches wide, so I want to make my punch, my hole, right in the center of it. Okay, so obviously half of 1.5 is 3/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this ruler right here. We're going to measure out 3/4 on one of the middle lines. Don't use that line. You can make that mistake. You could actually do a center punch on the middle line, and we're actually not using the middle line except for measurement at this point. The one of the 2 inch lines from that. So we're gonna go ahead and take our ruler here. We're gonna put this center punch. This is an auto center punch. So what this does is this allows me to put it right on there, and I just press down real hard. And now I have a little divot right on that line that allows me to line up the drill bit with that center punch. Now, after that, we go to our drill press. Now, here's the thing about the drill press. You want to make sure that when you put your drill bit in there, you have enough clearance to put your material in there, but also at the same time, it's locked in after you're going to put the material in. Now the first thing that I do is I have a guide, okay? You can have an angle guide or just a straight piece of flat bar stock. You can see we have 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch bar stock. That is our guide. Right now it is clamped in to roughly about 1.5 inches to our drill bit from the absolute drill bit point. So what we want to do first is we're going to take this guy again, our trusty little more accurate measuring ruler, and we're going to put it right at 3/4 inch. So I'm doing two things. I'm doing two ways to measure this. I have my center punch line that's right on 3/4 inch, and now I have my drill bit that's on 3/4 inch. I've locked my guide down with a clamp, and now I'm gonna see if these guys line up, and if they do, I'm good to go. So I'm gonna line this up, I'm gonna move my drill bit so I can see it, and of course those line up perfectly. Now if they line up perfectly, take your F clamp and lock your the other side of the guide down. That way it won't move around on you, and you know that every single time you make a hole, you can move that and then make the exact same measurement from the guide to the drill bit. So you don't have to center punch each individual time. All you have to do is line up the drill bit with your scribe line, okay? Now, I'm gonna go one further. We're gonna have two of these. They're gonna be mirror images of each other. So what we can do when we have a mirror image of each other, grab your other piece. Here's our other piece. If we stack them like so, and we make sure the ends are nice and even, we can take some spring locking clamps here and clamp these together. Just make sure it's nice and even on the table. Oh, my magnet on my scribe is catching to my material. And there we go. We can punch both of these at the same time, and we move twice as fast. Now, I always drill in the middle first. I always line up in the middle of my material first. Why do I do that? Because if you try to line it up on the end first, what's gonna happen is this is gonna off weight, it's gonna be out of balance. If you push it into the center first, I don't have to deal with it. It's centered, it's balanced, so I can also see how accurate the hole is gonna be. Now, anytime you are doing two things at once, okay, always lock it down. Because the first one, after you get through to the other side, what's gonna happen is this top guy is gonna wanna ride up on your drill bit, okay? And that could be really dangerous. It can break the drill bit, but worse, it can actually spin the material around and strike you, hurt you, pinch your hand against the deck, and you don't want that. You wanna make sure everything is clamped down so you avoid doing that. So just to be sure, I'm gonna line up. Once again, I'm right at my center punch. I'm 3/4 away, I'm dead center in the middle, and I'm good to go now. Now, anytime you are drilling into any metal, you always want to use drilling and tapping compound, okay? What you're gonna do is, A, you're gonna lubricate, but you're also going to cool the drill bit and the material. That way you don't overheat it and you don't burn through drill bits. So what I wanna do, again, is I'm gonna line it up. I always triple check. I'm gonna line it up one more time, it's good to go. And I'm gonna start, and I'm just gonna tap. I'm just gonna tap right into this. It nails it, okay? If that is good, I just do a little tap so the drill bit goes in just a little bit. And if it makes the mark right on top of my punch, that means I am dead center and that's where I wanna be. If I'm a little off, I make that correction. So now what I wanna do is give this a little bit of juice. And I want to let the drill bit do the work. Don't over push, but you do want to give it some pressure. And you can see I'm keeping that nice and lubricated. There we go. And you see that the drill bit made it all the way through. It didn't lock into the backside of either of my material, and I made a nice clean hole dead center in that. Now, last but not least, and I didn't mention this before I started drilling, make sure your RPMs is set correctly for mild steel. For this particular machine, this gives me a chart. Typically for mild steel, depending on the size of the bit, could be anywhere from 600 RPMs up to 1200 RPMs. And you would want to check that. It's going to vary depending on the material you're using. We have this guy set up right now for about 650 RPMs, and you would want to check with the manufacturer of your drill press to get the right one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to unlock this, and we're going to just move to the next one, rotate it, mark it, and I'm just going to do, without locking it in place, I'm just going to, well, why not? Lock it in place. I'm going to just flick this up, and I'm going to tap it. I'm just going to tap it, and I can see that I'm right on that scribe line. So I'm good to go. I can make another hole after I lubricate, of course. There we go. Get a little accidental squirt right after I drill that hole, but hey, it's all right. So now I just want to keep going. I'm going to go to my next one. I'm going to line it up, check it. It lands right on my scribe line. I'm good to go. I'm going to start that guy, lube it up again. Go. Unlock it, move it over, and I'm just going to hit every single one of those scribe lines. Everywhere I want a screw to go, I'm going to make sure that I nail that. So I'm just going to give it a little tap. It's right on the scribe line. That's where I want it to be. Just do it again. Give it enough pressure where it's cutting in. Now, helpful tip, when you are drilling into metal, make sure you have good drill bits. The sharper the drill bit, the better. Keep your drill bits sharp. There's a lot out there that don't go into metal very well, so you would want to maintain that. Now, here's another little trick. You already have a clamp right here, and you want to keep these perfectly lined up, right? So we're going to push this against the guide, clamp it down to the material. Now we're going to take this spring-loaded clamp off. We're going to lock this end down, and now release. Ta-da! Now we can do the other side. Okay. Line that guy up. I'm going to tap down. Hold on one second. Right there. Lined up. Tap down. Yep. Looks good to me. Now, take off the clamp and we break them apart. You can see that we have two identical members and they're ready to be welded into place.